You've got even more diversity by the time you get to 1787. And what the founders decided to do is, hey, this is not going to work at the national level. We cannot have any established. There's no way, practically speaking, what would it be? It's not going to be the Anglican Church, not going to be the Presbyterian Church. That would cause incredible division. And there's no way people are going to come together at a moment of national crisis, which it is. Are these colonies going to come together and sign on to this Constitution or not? And if they don't, what do we have? No Constitution, no unified country, subject to foreign invasion. It's a catastrophe all around. So there's a pragmatic dimension to this, yeah, but there's also a principle dimension to this. The founders really believe the best way to protect religious liberty at the end of the day and protect freedom is to separate the two institutions at the national level. So the state establishment will continue for a while, but by the 1830s, the writing is on the wall, and the last state establishment will be toppled. Whether it's Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, they all end, and their constitutions are rewritten to reflect the new realities. No establishment of any particular denomination in any of the states. That you cannot overstate how radical that is. And everybody signs on to it at the end of the day. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't still religious prejudices. The Catholics will have a rough go of it still, because culturally speaking, sociologically speaking, it's a very Protestant country, right? So the Catholics will get a rough go of it, but this is kind of amazing. Yeah, it's a rough go, but there's nothing like the systematic persecution that would have happened in Europe, Catholic versus Protestant. We never had a sectarian war. Never had a sectarian war in this country. Outbursts of violence, yes, but nothing like there's no 30 years sectarian war in America. And that's a pretty good thing. And we ought to thank the founders for that. And maybe John Locke as well while we're at it. But the amazing thing for me about the Catholics is that the Catholics, the ones who come here, they pretty quickly they join this parade, put it that way. They join the parade for religious freedom. So Maryland, a very demographically kind of Catholic state, they will get on board with religious freedom. And the Catholic Church, you could argue, becomes the most liberalized in a good sense, the most open to religious freedom of any Catholic church anywhere in the world. It's happening in America because they're in a culture of freedom and they're seeing how that allows them to prosper. There's a free market of religion in America, and it seems to be a good thing for the churches across the board. And that's what Tocqueville saw. If we could bring in Alexis de Tocqueville into the conversation for a moment, because Tocqueville, I love it when a Frenchman gets it right, because it doesn't happen all that often, if I could just say parenthetically. He really gets it right. It's still the best study of early America there, the 1830s, by anybody. This Frenchman, with his Catholic sensibilities, with the European example in mind, what does he see when he comes to the American colonies, the United States, in the 1830s, on his magical mystery tour over here? What does he see? He sees a country that has a vibrant civil society, people solving problems at the local level. He sees that, the art of association, he calls it. But he also sees robust religious belief. He appreciates and he marvels at the separation of church and state, but he calls religion the first of our political institutions. Now, that's a curious phrase from Tocqueville. Religion is the first of our political institutions, but it's not institutionalized. There's no national religion. What do you mean? He means it energizes people. It motivates them. It frames their thinking. The churches are civil actors. They're deeply involved in civic life and also in political life in the sense that it helps to inform their politics, the various campaigns. Ultimately, of course, the campaign for abolition, it's the Christian community that's fighting real hard for that, to end slavery. So Tocqueville sees all this. He sees the fruit of the institutional separation of church and state. He sees how it leads to a vibrant religious community in one community after another. And back to the Catholic point, as a Catholic himself, he sees this as a wonderful thing. He sees this as protecting the health and the integrity of the churches, Catholic and Protestant both. So what happens to the Catholic Church is what happens to other denominations. The Presbyterian Church, you could argue as well. Presbyterian Church in Locke's day, in the 17th century, they are not all over religious freedom, let's be frank. Our Calvinist friends, they will moderate their views in colonial America, in 18th century America, just as the Catholics will. And they will get on board with religious liberty because at the end of the day, they'll become convinced this is the best way to kind of safeguard the health, the integrity, the influence of our own denomination. Let us be equal players. Give us equal justice under the law, and we can compete. we can compete on equal terms. If the state doesn't favor one religion over another, if it's not picking favorites, we can compete on equal terms. That is not happening anywhere else on the planet. And if you think about it, in many parts of the world today, that's not happening, that free market of religion, equal justice under the law, regardless of religious belief. But it's embedded in our Constitution. And, of course, it's how we think. It's in the air and in the water. It's deeply cultural now. That didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of these other great thinkers who came before us. That's worth remembering.